Yeah, thanks everyone for joining the community meeting for Canoe Agentic AI SIG meeting. So we have 3 topics on the agenda. So one are we had some time volunteered from our marketing branding team to help position a name for our project. So that way we can make it unique and also it's easy to identify with the project as we talk about in the community. Saying the whole AI platform engineering is mouthful and also it's quite generic. So I will let Noel and Hasid share where. So last week in the community meeting, we mentioned the name CAPE. So the team creatively came up with just adding one word, community, to AI platform engineering and came up with the word CAPE. It also kind of, I won't give out the punchline on the presentation, but it has some things around superheroes and stuff like that. So we'll do a quick presentation of that. I think it's a good idea to touch on gateways. Um, um, Carlos, you've done some work in the agent gateway. There is some activity around Slim. We have implementation of Slim. I can show a quick demo. Sunny's away. And then Gaurav, if you're still able to present the agent core identity, that would be a good one to hear about. Arthur has a demo on agent evals, A2A proxy, and line fuse integration. So we have quite a few topics to cover. And any other topics or questions before we jump into this agenda?
No, just want to say thank you for accommodating the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I understand Mondays could be holidays and other challenges or
Yeah.
like long weekends. We'll worry about those. Hopefully, we can navigate through that. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to pass it to Noel and Hasid, who will kind of share at least some ideas around just kind of branding for Cape. And if we are all satisfied with that, then we can start using that nomenclature in our website and docs. I will stop and let them kind of share and present.
Sure. So Heseth, did you want to share like the logo, or do you want me to do the pitch deck? I wasn't sure what you want me to show.
Yeah, I have a local version of it. Let me. Yeah, I can bring it up. 1 second. Give me a second. Sorry. All right. Can you guys see the share?
Yep.
Yes. Go ahead, Noel. You can describe the.
Yeah. So like Shri said, our marketing team kind of came up with CAPE, so Community AI Platform Engineering. I know before we had Jarvis, and so it's kind of a nod to the superhero of how we originated, and then it's pronounced CAPE, so maybe the I is silent here, and we're working on this pitch deck for everybody to be able to use for presentations, and so you'll see this slide will be built out and shared. We've also done work on the icon as well. So here's the vision that I wrote, and some of your companies are represented here. But a part of the pitch deck is what CAPE is, what our vision is, what the architecture looks like, some key components. And so we're working on, don't worry about the Outshift branded, the footer at the bottom. We'll have it cleaned up. But you can see at the top left, that is the new logo that we will be using for CAPE. So you'll see it on all of our things. And I don't know if you wanted to share, Hasith, the new persona icon that we have too. But yeah, this is the definition here. And this will be our pitch deck going forward. But That's the little one. I don't know if you want to do the cooler version of it too.
Yeah, one second.
We'll update the
Okay.
UI with here. I'll drop it to you.
There is a question on the
Yep.
on the forum.
Carlos, did you have a
yeah.
question? I think. Yep.
Yeah, I love this. I love that Cisco is investing resources in this aspect, marketing and showing the vision and working on these aspects, including community awareness of the project. Is very good. For example, last week, ESO, External Secure Operator, have had an announce of they don't have maintainers and they have the critical path. So it's been discussed in the CNCF and CNCF ambassadors. So one aspect of that is marketing and awareness that the project exists, that the project is healthy, that the project needs volunteers, that is how can people contribute, not just use it. So ESO has a lot of users, not a lot of contributors. So having a good mix in the messaging, I like this that you get community. The only thing, if you can present again, is that the new name or the acronym, the messaging when we use it in terms of Canoe. How do we want to address that? We say Cape by Canoe, Cape, a project of the Canoe community. Put it in the corner when we always put Cape, because I had someone reach out to me saying that this new project was a competing one and it was going to be a different foundation. So
I think no, definitely we can figure out what we want to do there. It does make sense, like Cape by Canoe, or like I think if you guys have thoughts, I think that'll be good to like kind of incorporate that.
and it doesn't have to be everywhere. Maybe in the first mention, then saying like Cape is one of the projects or sub projects or project under Canoe, and we don't have to keep mentioning it, right? It's just the one time at the beginning, so it's clear.
So like yeah, I mean, so this
Yeah,
will be
here,
the
like
it'll be here, right?
that's the first slide that has the thing, something in there that has the Canoe logo in the corner or something, so people know like Cape is
somewhere here, like on
the previous
here or
slide.
something. Previous year. Okay, right, okay.
Right, it says Cape Community AI Platform Engineering.
Okay.
At this point, I don't know if this is Linux Foundations, if this CNCF,
Right.
if it's this Cisco.
Okay.
I have no idea,
Cool.
right?
So that's a good point. We can add by Canoe or something that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that'll be
In the corner, in the logo or something, or like we always do like CNCF, right? At the bottom, we put like the CNCF logo. We can say this is a project, one of the projects or project by Canoe, right? We have to mention it once. We don't have to mention it every time, but other than that, I love the work.
No, that makes sense. We'll clean up a deck, and the idea is to make it available so that everybody can use it, right? So it'll be like
this is awesome. And then if you are not if you're familiar with open source projects, this becomes the first call deck type of thing.
Yeah.
If you have ideas or you have any ideas or any inputs that you want to put in the speaker notes, the better, because then we have people that are very passionate about giving presentations in other countries, in other languages, in different community meetups, and it'll be super easy for us to point it in the website, say, hey, here's a forecall deck on how to explain the project, describe the project, and you can give your introduction with this slides and then continue with your demo or whatever specific thing you're doing. But a reusable asset, so that I think this is great.
Yeah, that's a good point, Carlos. Yeah, we'll incorporate that and maybe have like some talking points and things also embedded. And when we,
and usually the typical go to action, right, at the bottom, call to action of like, here's here's the website, here's how to contribute, here's how
Yeah,
to
we've got a
like
we've got a call to action slide with a QR code that takes you to the Canoe page with the meeting. If you keep going, yeah, this is
Yeah.
Shift. Keep going. Oh, maybe you hit it.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think I have the full slide deck.
Yeah,
But what
well,
we'll
we
do
have
is,
it. We've got a
Okay.
QR code with the website, and then it has your community meeting times also next to it for folks
Yeah.
to join.
Yeah, the call to action, the typical one. And then the thing is, where do we send them? Because I was talking to Sri, I think Pankaj, right? That the website looks very cool, and I don't know what's the latest plan on like we have Canoe.io. Like I don't care if it's a different website or if it's a website embedded into the other website. If it's a separate, it's okay. But the idea that if we send people to Canoe.io, they can easily find where is Cape, right? From the main page, from the hero page.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point, Carlos. In our next core meeting in the Canoe main, we need to kind of. I think Pankaj already addressed it. I think one of the options is to add an anchor here. Should we put the entire website here, or at least some portion of it where you can do the IDP builder? That's
But even from the
something we
main
need
page,
to.
the hero page, not even the docs, just the we're going to send people to Canoe.io, right?
Right. We want.
It should
Yeah,
be
we want
the
them
new
to go
logo with the
here.
cape, right? And saying like, this is Cape, and then people can click on it. If you want to do AI platform engineering, the
Yes.
cool new logo, right? Click in there, and then you go into the Cape AI ecosystem or project, right? That you want to work with Cape.
Yeah. Do you think that should stay in the Canoe domain, like cape.canoe.io, or
Yeah.
or yeah? I think if we we can certainly do that.
But it needs to be findable from the Canoe.io, right?
Sure.
A big
Fair enough.
logo in there saying you want to set up an IDP or on Kubernetes, this is the project. Maybe go to the AWS platform reference implementation IDP. You want to do AI platform engineering, click on the Cape logo and go there, right? Like two main working groups, two projects.
Any thoughts on that one? If there is general consensus, a couple of us can work on the mechanics with Pankaj.
Yeah, we're back. I think he did a lot of good, cool stuff in here recently. Yeah. It didn't look like
he revamped the website.
This website didn't look like this like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and also he's trying to recover the domain. I think it's owned by someone else, and he's trying to recover it and buy it in GoDaddy. So there is some work that I.
Oh, okay, probably Nima bought it or something.
Yeah, I think Nima or someone else owns it, and then he's trying to transfer that to GoDaddy.
Okay.
If there are no other questions, in the interest of time, let's go to the Slim and Agent Gateway discussion. I'll let you talk since you have done some work on the Agent Gateway. Carlos, if you can give an update, I'll do a quick on the Slim. Carlos, could you give an update on the Agent Gateway? Whatever else you discovered in the demo projects?
Let me share my screen. 1 second. I think it's this.
Thanks.
So Agent Gateway is a new project. The founders are. Let's see if I can. Am I sharing my browser now? So Agent Gateway is a new project by Solo and other companies, but the main contributor is Solo Agent Gateway. This is a project that is going to be donated to the Linux Foundation, and is based on Rust is a network proxy, and it has a few utilities that I found useful in terms of like working with agents and MCP. This is the embedded GUI, which I think is super useful for people that are not aware about these technologies, or people just getting started, or like something visual to see the things. So I think that's also like something that I found that is very clever. These are the docs. So agent gateway, not to be there's a little bit confusing because there's agent gateway and then K gateway. So if you want to run agent gateway in Kubernetes, be configured with CRDs, you will use K gateway. I'll talk about gateway in a minute. Agent gateway is basically just a Rust binary that you can run from your computer, just agent gateway binary, and then run and start listening on a port. And then that port, mainly the main purpose is to expose MCP, and then it has backends, and then that backend can be another MCP. It could be, and the benefits that you get is networking proxy. So out of the box, you get the typical, which a lot of other tools can provide, Nginx, HA proxy, Kong, all these networking reverse proxies can offer all this in terms of like working routes, and security in terms of like doing TLS termination or authentication of requests with security policies. The key aspect of MCP is that the protocol that it's exposing is it's MCP, which is HTTP, and the backends are MCP, so it's MCP aware. So as you can see here, the configuration, you can put a MCP behind it, and then what you get out of the box is that authentication, routing, rate limiting, those type of things, like protection of those your MCP servers, to expose them as backends out. So this is just the binary out of the box. One of the cool things that it does is MCP multiplexing. So if you have more than one MCP server, let's say you have one MCP server with a few tools and another MCP server with a bunch of tools. By the way, this is a super cool MCP server that I found, that the server, everything I found out useful for testing. It can expose the MCP servers, the multiple MCP servers, as one MCP server and one set of tools. So you can have like multiple MCP servers listening on different ports or servers, and then the MCP server can expose it as one MCP server, and then you pick which tool do you want to expose from each one. So the multiplexing is very cool, and then from the GUI you can test that MCP protocol to these MCP servers. So if you have multiple MCP servers available in your organization or in your, you can expose them and select which tools do you expose. And one thing that also is kind of like cool with this tool is you can expose based on CEL, Common Expression Language. So you can say, test user like Carlos can have access to this tool and that tool, and it could be from the multiple MCP servers, but Sri can only have access to that tool and this tool based on our authentication. So once you authenticate with the MCP client, your OAuth key, which supports JWT tokens, you can, with CEL, you can like kind of create an artback or expression of like that security of like everyone is allowable to do echo, but the test user in the auth subject can only do add, and that's one example, right? So this is something that I have not seen in another MCP gateways that I've been evaluating. Let me see. Any questions so far?
I have one. So is the thought with agent gateway, like could you use that as a sidecar, like Envoy kind of said? Is that how it's meant to be, that every MCP server or your agent has a agent gateway sidecar, or is it meant to be like a central proxy?
So it's a binary Rust listening on port 3000. So with the discussion I had with Christian, I have a stream tomorrow, and the solo folks is you can start, you can use it in different ways. So like you mentioned, you can include the gateway inside your Docker container. So you have an MCP server or two MCP servers inside that Docker container, and also the agent gateway listening. So you don't expose the MCP server, you expose the gateway, and that way you can like protect it, rate limited. You get that proxy networking proxy things inside one container. So that's one level of like using it as a, like you mentioned, as a sidecar. Then the next level will be to put it in front as a separate Docker container, for example, that then the MCP servers live in other MCP Docker containers. So for example, you can have an MCP server namespace. Let's talk about Kubernetes. You can have an MCP server namespace with 20 MCP servers. And then you put a basically an ingress like this agent gateway that everybody that is going to talk to any of those MCP servers will go through the gateway to make sure you have rate limiting, authentication, which tool to use, who can access which tool of any of the MCP servers that are located in the namespace MCP server, but they don't have to be in one namespace. Like, but it can be separated, like one-to-one or one-to-many. So that's how you would use it in terms of MCP to get that multiplexing aspect of why would you put it? Why would you put a MCP gateway, for example? It will act as an MCP gateway, either a same MCP gateway in front of NSCP servers. And related to that, if we go to the MCP K gateway documentation, which has this an implementation. This is just when you come into Kubernetes. I wanted to highlight something about the MCP. And if you use just the binary, then the configuration is a config file that you can put your backends like this. If you configure the MCP gateway, I don't want to take a lot of time today because we have all that stuff. If you're going to use it in Kubernetes, then basically you're running that same container, but the configuration, and it has the same aspect of dynamic. You will configure like a static or dynamic MCP backend. So this is a backend in terms of like a backend in terms of an API gateway protocol from upstream Kubernetes. And as you can see here, if you can specify a backend like this is how you would define your MCP server. Instead of like backend in the config file, you specify with a CRD or CR from a CRD that points to the URL, right? The host and port of your MCP target. And then if it is SSE or HTTP streamable, but also you can specify in terms of like a backend to be dynamic that you have selectors. So you can deploy your MCP servers in pods, multiple of them, and then you will collect them based on selectors. So that's how you can specify multiple MCP servers from the same replica or different same replica will be the one service with not MCP session, but you can have multiple of them just collected here. So you can find the endpoints basically. These CRs are basically configuring the agent gateway configuration. So that's in respect of the Cape project is. And then this other one, which I think is interesting, is this concept of configuring a Swagger file. Let me see if I can find it here. You can specify a Swagger file, OpenSpec API Swagger file. So basically to transport or transform an NCP, exposes an NCP client, NCP server, and then the backend is basically REST API. So we will do the transformation from MCP tools, for example, to methods calls to that. And it has an example of the pet store API. Take into account that I was thinking that we can help in this project in terms of augmenting the NCP, the project that we have creating MCP servers but we are using LLM to augment the description of the parameter or the method of the tool. We can have something along the lines that we can extend this project, right? We can see an extension or we can fork it or something to apply the same methodology of like you bring your swagger.yaml, you bring your LLM, and then you augment it dynamically, right? Or the process, or an example that shows our process of taking a Swagger, augmenting it with the LLM, and then creating a new .json that has the rich descriptions into it. Or it can be dynamic on the fly, right? It depends the trade-offs, right? It's cost to do it on the fly, or caching, all those type of things. So doing it before, like we do in Canoe, in Cape, it's more efficient in terms of cost, right?
Yeah, I think Arthur has an interesting demo on that, especially adding even evals to this. So there is an interesting cross section here we can propose.
Yeah.
maybe
So I don't want to
use
take
the
a lot of
portion.
time today, because I know there's a lot big agenda, but the other aspect was the A2A. If we want to put this proxy in front of an A2A server or A2A agent that we have, A2A server, then it would get the routing policies, like the authentication. That's the only thing that like the same thing is, and it doesn't do a multiplexing or things like that. I've been asking like if we need to have a way of like a registry of A2A agent cards, A2A registry. That's in the work. That's in the discussion. But right now, what it offers is just like the routing, the rate limiting, the authentication to an A2A server. So it's just a typical proxy, I would say. But they have A2A, and then they have LLM abstractions, which I have. This is new. I haven't looked into it yet deeply. But that's what I wanted to show in terms of like what it offers in terms of MCP, which I think is interesting to our project in terms of like, how do we package the MCP servers, right? Do we package it with the agent? Do we package the MCP servers separately so it can be used by any agent? And we put this agent gateway in front of it, so the agent pick based on their authentication, right? Can pick which tools do they want to leverage from the pool of MCP servers. That's the last thought that I had.
I'll share my opinion on that. Thank you for this is really great intro and explanation of Agent Gateway. Folks from the community, any questions for Carlos? Anything you want to ask or highlight? Gaurav, I think you're on mute, or we can't hear your audio.
Can you hear me?
Your mic is up, Gaurav.
Yeah, your mic is up too.
Lower your mic from your side.
No, not yet. We can hear you. While we fix your audio,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the MCP is the most promising there with the Agent Gateway and the auth they've implemented with Cell. I think we should definitely take a look at how they've been using the expression language and common expression language, and how they did the auth. I think that's definitely immediately applicable. We have already separated our MCP servers, so I can show that in a minute. Go ahead, Gaurav. We can still hear you.
Okay.
Thought you came in for a second, but still can't hear you.
Maybe switch to your laptop mic.
Okay.
Yeah,
Don't blame WebEx.
Yeah, it's fading in and out. I think we heard like one word, but anyway, while you're doing that, let me show what's implemented in Slim. In the interest of time, we've got a couple of things, a couple of other demos queued up. So this is something you all can try, and this is Carlos, maybe a similar implementation. We should do that for Agent Gateway. So if you look at the Docker Compose file, if I can go back and show that. So in the Docker Compose file we have today, there are different profiles. So there is a P2P profile, which is basically the A2A agents talking peer-to-peer without any gateway in the middle. And they also have their equivalent MCP servers. In the case of GitHub, it doesn't use a MCP server. It talks to the API Copilot, basically a remote MCP server. So there is also an option to run the GitHub MCP server locally as a Docker container. So take a look at this. There is a profile you can run with Slim as an option or P2P as an option. There are also tracing profiles in the Docker Compose. This is all added into the repo. So you can run peer-to-peer with tracing that brings up the whole Langfuse, and you can see the Langfuse traces. I will show that. I can show that.
Can you
But
give a quick brief summary of Slim? I think I was trying to read on Slim, and I gather something around the high level benefits of like the connectivity, high throughput. It was something around unicast or multicast
so yeah,
or
so
hub.
the idea is that it's a message passing mechanism. So just like agent gateway, it's also written in Rust to be like standalone binary. But Slim, you know, the data plane is run as like a proxy, and you can do like a request response, pub sub, multicast, or like broadcast. It has those primitives. The even more fundamental idea with Slim is to have trust in those groups. Basically, the trust is established as an end-to-end trust with the MLS. So MLS is a protocol that was created by several. It's an IETF protocol. It's what's used in Signal. Like it's created with some of the other like Meta, Cisco, most others. So basically, it creates end-to-end messaging, like what Slack, WebEx, and other systems do. But the trust is established by the members themselves, and if someone comes in and leaves, they do recreate the encryption key. It has nothing to do with authentication authorization. It's just establishing trust within core communication group. That's the premise of this. I think the agent gateway is more of a, like you said, proxy.
Ingress.
It provides different guarantees. So I can see both of them potentially existing, or we should have a, agent gateway implementation here. I think I would like to see that in Cape, especially for MCP, where we can do multiplexing or do MCP auth with gateway. Like I said, I was gonna run this with tracing, but in the interest of time, I probably won't. We won't, show that. But you can run with that profile, and it'll bring up all the containers along with Langfuse.
Is Slim based on a MLS already server protocol controller that exists in another product or open source project, and you brought some of the agentic stuff, or is this from scratch?
I think it's almost really Slim. Semantically has some agent related stuff, but largely it's a communication layer. So it's like agnostic communication layer. So in this case, the agents are Slim agnostic. So they're still talking A to A. So Slim implemented A to A bindings. So it really talks A to A at this point, right?
So you implemented the bindings. But I was asking the core Slim controller and management is like something like invented in the last 2 months, or is this code that exists in another product vetted at scale, like robust?
Completely new. I think in the last 4 or 5 months, the team like created Slim. It was not from an existing venture.
And my questions are towards on like production readiness, scaling, enterprise, those type of things.
Fair enough.
That's that end users are going to ask, like the non-functional requirements. And that's the same thing for agent gateways. It's on Rust. It's new code written recently. A lot of like was borrowed and steal from the Z tunnel from Istio, kind of like Rust library, but it's also like new. And the reason I ask is because I can see Slim or creating bindings that we can implement the same MCP multiplexing in Slim, right? Where you request a message for a tool to query which tools are available, and they come back with a query system, right? That comes back with the list of MCP tools available. It's like multiplexing. And since it's a message passing, there's not that much rate limiting that you have to have, right? It's just queue based, different type of rate limiting, right? How many messages per
That's
second
correct.
or like things like that.
And I think some of there are definitely maturity challenges and also just getting that baseline stuff. It's kind of at the same level of Agent Gateway, and Agent Gateway may have borrowed some concepts from a different project, but we'll also get, so the agency itself is donated to Linux Foundation.
Yep.
So they're also collaborating with other projects in Linux Foundation. It's possible that Agent Gateway, A2A agency, they'll all come together at some point. But it's interesting for us to see what we can do with it. So just in terms of just doing a quick query, I'll just do show Argo CD version. What this will do is it'll talk to the supervisor, then it'll go over the Slim bridge, if you will, talk to the A2A agent that's talking to the MCP server, and then it's sending the query all the way back, and then it's going to respond back to the caller. As you mentioned, I think Agent Gateway has an interesting paradigm here. It could be deployed in a Kubernetes as a proxy or a multiplexing proxy, and any of the A2A agents can talk to that Agent Gateway or K Gateway proxy. So what's interesting here, I think this is the work that Ifan did in the tracing world. I don't know if I have mine wired up. If not, I will show this some other time, but the traces should really normally show up here in the length fuse traces. Yeah, that's how the Slim wirings are.
Are there any persistent layer on these messages? If you have a lot of messages going through the Slim
No, there is no
message hub?
persistence. It's just a message passing layer. Right now, at least Slim does not have like Kafka, like it doesn't have any persistence, like NATs or others. And that was an open question for us too, is why would I use Slim over like NATs, for example, right? NATs has like NATs like Kafka is a pub sub.
Yeah.
So I think those are some interesting open questions on persistence.
So what like you mentioned MLS is, I don't know, I don't have a background in MLS. Like MLS have been used by Cisco, Signal, other companies. What do they typically use as a backend storage? Or they have bindings for his Kafka or
Yeah, so
AWS
MLS is
or
not a message. All MLS guarantees is end user encryption. So if we are on
for the
call,
encryption. Sorry,
it's just
okay.
doing end user encryption and making sure that there is no person in the middle attacks that can happen. Even if there is an entity that hosts Slim, the central cloud entity can never see end user encryption keys. That's
Okay.
It basically gives end-to-end encryption guarantee. Other than that, it does not have any transport guarantees.
Okay. I think I got the terminology messed up. So the MLS is around the authentication and the trust, and your controller is a new controller that basically like you're looking into like what will be the options on backend storage, right? Persistence.
Yeah, that would be not something that MLS guarantees. Slim doesn't have that persistence guarantee either. Yeah, that's a question for that team to see if they will ever implement that. Or there could be a different like mechanism to do persistence if someone is interested in persistence. In the interest of time, I know we went longer than anticipated. Gaurav, do you still have your audio?
Yep.
Am
I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. I know we promised that we could potentially do agent core identity. I don't know if that'll give you enough time. We can always come back in another session. Arthur also has a demo on agent evals. What would you like to do?
Yeah, I would need 10 minutes. So if we are having, if it leaves less, it will definitely leave 5 to 6 minutes only, Arthur, for you. I don't know if that is sufficient. We can do either one of them and focus on
Could we
identity.
do a longer session next week, Gaurav? Could we do a full session?
That's fine.
I think we could probably do a full agent core plus identity session next week, if that's okay.
I mean, agent core definitely is huge. Like there are 7 primitives
Yeah.
there.
I could cover
So
gateway also.
yeah, gateway is something I covered, Carlos, last time.
Okay, cool.
I talked about gateway. I was going to talk about identity.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up to Arthur. Arthur, you can start. If it leaves, let's say 6-7 minutes for me, I would be good.
Okay.
Otherwise, I will just pivot to next time.
Okay, Arthur, do you want to just quickly cover and see if we can have any time left?
Yeah,
I
sure.
apologize for going long.
I can speed run through this. So as part of the MCP code generator, there's a few new flags. One to generate an A2A agent, one to generate eval, and also generating the system prompt. So what the goal of this kind of repo has become is to handle the kind of agent building lifecycle with some useful tooling. So we can see here I'm generating the MCP server for Commodore, which has a OpenAPI spec. And once it's generated, I can go into the MCP Commodore directory and I can choose to run it in A2A mode. This effectively exports a kind of A2A protocol agent kind of ready, and it uses templates in the background. But I think what I'm going to demo in this short time is the new eval mode feature. So what this does is it compiles a list of tools that your agent has, and then gives you a kind of a way in the CLI to evaluate or to create a data set for each individual tool. So we're going to use the default dataset path. You can input an evaluation strategy. So I'm going to say use cluster Java sandbox. And what this will do is it'll start kind of listing the tools. Okay, we have around 70 tools in our list. So maybe let's start with the first tool called Post API Services Search. So let's evaluate that one. You get the OpenAPI spec, and in the LLM, you also get suggestions on how to evaluate. So what services are available in the cluster? Okay, I think I'm happy with that one. So now it's invoking the agent with this kind of example input. And this in the background is calling the MCP, the server that was generated with the right parameters, calling Commodore for some services, and then getting back the response. And yeah, so the goal is to kind of go through each tool one by one and slowly build up kind of a golden data set that you can use for evaluation. So in the interest of time, it's still getting the response. So I'm going to skip to actually running the eval. Okay, so it's already done it. You can see here there's some output. Here are the service names, and you can choose to like add it to the data set, and then it moves on to the next tool. So we're actually going to quit the session, and we're going to run the evaluation in LangFuse. So we're going to run make eval. So as part of kind of the template rendering, we also render kind of the evaluation code necessary to run the data set you just created. And this will work using LangFuse. So we're going to actually use a different data set for this one. So we're going to use dataset 2 for YAML, which is one that I already made earlier. So there's 23 test cases, and this is going to kind of run your current agent through those data points. So now we've kicked off the evaluation. It's doing all of the data set in parallel, and we can move on to tracing. So now that your agent is running, you're going to get a bunch of kind of new traces coming in. So we can see yeah, they're just starting to load up now. We've got our agent graph of the tool invocations. We've got kind of what you'd see in Langsmith. You can now see in LangFuse, which is something you have locally. And then you can also go to data sets. So in this case, we have a few different evaluation runs. We can see our correctness is kind of trending upwards. This is a custom evaluator. Our hallucination metric is also kind of improving, and we also have trajectory accuracy. So this is kind of yeah, how you can evaluate your agent and kind of keep tabs on how it's performing over time. And then I think the final thing I'm going to demo is slightly, I guess, more abstract, but it's a problem I came across. And this is this thing called A2A proxy. So this is something I kind of drew up with an LLM, but basically the idea is that it's a proxy between your any A2A client and a kind of minimal LangGraph server. And the idea is that the A2A proxy implements all of the kind of task management and the message queuing system from A to A, so that your agent server doesn't even need to like use the Python SDK for A to A. It can just stream events directly back to the proxy, for example, using WebSockets. It can still support MCP and all of the tools, except that now the server code is a lot simpler, and the A2A proxy does most of the kind of keeping track of what A2A is and exposing the agent card and things like that. But this is kind of more sort of experimental, and I think when it comes to keeping your A2A packages up to date and maybe implementing good practice using a message bus like Kafka or RabbitMQ to keep track of conversations, I think a proxy might be useful so that it can handle all of that and you can just focus on kind of the agent code itself. So the goal of this project is to reduce, I guess, the boilerplate required for that sort of thing. But yeah, curious to hear people's thoughts, and I think I'll end the demo on that.
Maybe helpful to show the A2A inspector. I know there are two hands, but in the 1 minute you have, I guess,
Okay.
and then go ahead, Carlos, if you want.
Yeah. So I'll get feel free to ask questions in the meantime. Carlos, did you?
Go ahead. Show the A2A inspector. I don't know this tool.
Okay, so A2A inspector. So we're going to run the proxy. We're going to run an example server. And then if we open up A2A inspector, we can give it the URL of our agent. So that's going to be localhost 8000, and it's listening on where is it? .well-known agent.json. Sorry, one sec. Agent.json. So this is going through the proxy. It's not going to the agent directly, and we can see that it mostly implements A2A. There's a small validation error, but then we can ask what is $3,000, oops, pounds. And then, sorry, this is a completely different agent, by the way. It's just for the example, and you can see that it's following the A2A protocol. It submits a task. We have the tool call, and then we have the final result. But yeah, it's sort of the proxy is doing all the A2A hard lifting, and then your agent is just doing LangGraph. But yeah, any questions, Carlos?
Yeah, I have to. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'll start from the back. So the server, when you run a line chain, online server, in 9000, what is that protocol? It's a standard protocol, and I didn't quite get why you separated that A2A out and then implemented a custom protocol.
So the protocol is just WebSockets. You send a request over the wire, which is the LangGraph message, and then the A2A proxy is able to translate that into A2A. And you can do REST as well. Like the backend can be either WebSocket or REST.
And this A2A proxy is like an open source project or standard project?
Yeah, I mean it's here to kind of for people to give some feedback. I think hopefully it will become part of Canoe, but at the moment it's just
you created this.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I think this is similar to the agent gateway, right? Where it can expose an A2A and then point to a openspec.json that has REST API. So we could potentially have the agent expose. I have another project with Strength that I expose like something for a web server, like fast API, right? And it's just like a web API. So that could be a potential thing versus maintaining this proxy, right? We could use the agent gateway as the A2A proxy, right?
Yeah.
That points to a REST API.
Yeah, sorry. The issue with agent gateway is that you still need to implement the client side code for A2A, like all the queue and message handling. Like it's a bit of a transparent proxy, whereas this one actually abstracts away like almost all of the A2A, and you just have to stream the LLM.
So what I'm trying to say is we could potentially add a feature to agent gateway that it listens on A2A as an A2A server, and instead of talking to A2A client, it talks to the Swagger API server, REST API, right? The same way that it does with MCP. You talk to MCP, and then you give it a Swagger.json, and it talks to it. We could augment, contribute this to Agent Gateway where it talks A2A, and instead of talking A2A card like today, it talks to Open Swagger, like the REST API. That's exactly what you did.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
You did it with WebSocket, but I was just thinking now if there was something around the WebSocket aspect of it, which could also be implemented in the agent gateway, right? So that it could be good to open issues just as discussions, right? To see what people think about adding this target WebSocket and the Swagger, the same thing as MCP to A2A, to make it more flexible. Because like you saw, I didn't see much of the benefit of like putting an A2A client and then pointing to an A2A client. The only thing that you get is just the route, the typical HTTP route limiting and the standard thing. Nothing agentic or abstraction transformation, right? And the other question was, when you generate the Commodore MCP, are we now separating what we discussed in the past of like separating the Commodore MCP server as an MCP server separate from the agent code, and then you evaluate the agent code using the MCP server?
I think it supports both STDIO or HTTP, if that's what you mean. And the MCP server is the agent in this model when you create the evals, because you're evaluating each tool. But yeah, I mean, I think you could also evaluate them separately, I guess, but I'd need some help because I'm not. Yeah.
So the question is, when you generate, I'm trying to get to if this tooling can generate an MCP server by itself that
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
have
yeah.
any LLM agentic aspect to it.
Yeah, so the original tool only generated an MCP server. I've added extra flags to do agents plus evals.
Yes. Okay. Cool. I think that's super useful. I think that's something we'll be showing in KubeCon, right, Sri?
Yep.
I didn't know if we announced that or not, but we got a talk accepted for ArgoCon.
Yeah, we did. We mentioned to the community and we'll post it.
I will be showing all this work that you did. So great work.
Yeah, again, thank you, Arthur. I think a good call out on rather than pointed tools. Let's see if we can collaborate. Gaurav, you've been patiently waiting.
No,
Go
no
ahead.
worries.
I don't think it'll give us enough time,
Yeah,
and
that's fine.
it's not fair for you to do it in 3 minutes. Let's do it in next week. But please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, my question was, Arthur, when you're deciding upon evals, like how do you decide, like how are we deciding which, what will be our evaluation metrics? Like there are multiple evals or types of evals and evaluation strategies that can be used. Like, is there a configuration somewhere that you're using right now, or how are we deciding? You showed us 3 metrics like hallucination, correctness, and I think one more trajectory related.
Yeah.
So just curious how we are deciding now, and is there any plan to make it flexible?
Yeah, so currently the generator defaults to 3 metrics, but it supports all of Langfuse's evaluators.
Okay.
But that's something you have to do yourself on the generator template. But yeah, in theory, we can configure that as well.
Okay.
The rubrics as well. Yeah, I think maybe some more double clicking on adding the right rubrics and evaluators.
And likewise for data set, like how are you generating the data set? Is it like a synthetic data set? How are you just creating it? Curious again.
Yeah, so the data set consists of trajectories. So for each invocation, you extract the LangGraph trajectory, which contains the input, the tool calls, and the output, and you put that into your data set. That's one data point. And I think it's important to have human in the loop at this stage, but you can maybe in the future use LLMs to help you generate this. But yeah.
So right now the data set that you showed us was captured as part of some runs, or how was it? Like what is the seed data set? Where is the seed? Is there a concept of seed data set, and where is it coming from?
The C data set is I generated it by invoking the LLM and making sure that it's what I expect. It's not like some dynamic thing from users. That would be cool, but at the moment it's manually generated.
Okay, got it. No, thank you for those answers and really cool demo. Thank you. Yeah, it does make our template more mature in terms of capabilities that it offers now.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I think-
Gaurav.
Awesome. Arthur, I think it would be good to post because it's already live, it's in main branch, post the link to to how to run the UVX in our Slack channel. Yifan, you are patient with the question. Please go ahead. I think we'll conclude with your question.
I just got two simple questions. So could you please basically explain how did you use the A2A proxy to eliminate the A2A noise in Langfuse?
Yeah, so A2A proxy runs separately from Langfuse, so sorry, from the agent, so it's able to ignore, like, not collect the OTel metric. But I know you did some work on disabling it within the same kind of it's within the same A2A container, so that works both ways. Like the problem of A2A noise is fixed in both one agent scenario and also in using A2A proxy.
So is it like the A2A proxy is running as a separate service and we extract the trajectory from that service, right?
Yeah, A2A is running as a separate, A2A proxy is a separate service.
Got it. And how did you use the trajectory evaluators? Because I don't think there is one in Langfuse.
Yeah, so I used custom metrics, I guess. I think I create a custom score and upload it for each evaluation dataset.
But I don't think there is a way to like get the trajectory in benching framework in Langfuse. So I can only see the output and the input from the UI there.
Yeah. I mean, I can show you the code that I have and we can, see, because I think
Sorry
I'm
to interrupt. Maybe since we are in the same group, why don't we do this offline? But again, thank you for the questions and all the knowledge sharing demos. Appreciate it. We'll post the recording. Thank you, everyone. So, I'm gonna catch up with you, Satish, offline. I'll message you on Slack.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Bye.
See you next week.